absolute Superman, this younger, more troubled version of him that we have been seeing this entire time, almost completely comes to an end as he loses everything and is reborn in a way. Now, welcome back to the Hero Informer. I am AJ, and yes, this is essentially what is the end of this giant overarching arc that absolute Superman has been going on and fighting against. As in the present, we see Kal-El here, Superman, almost in a dreamlike state, him seeing his homeworld, Krypto, his parents that are still alive, even though in the present, in the real world, they should be dead. We see him go on to narrate saying his mouth is full of blood, his eyes are scabbed closed. He can feel a blade searing hot and slicing through him again and again, as he looks upon his mother and father saying, "I'm doing what Krypton did before me. I'm dying," as we see Ra's al Ghul just plunge a kryptonite full-on sword through his midsection. Because yes, as you can clearly see during this Battle of Kansas, Superman is losing almost to a laughable extent. Ra's al Ghul going to continue to almost gloat to the dying boy here, saying, "I told you that you would kneel. Now gather up your guts, and when you rise as this world's redeemer, ready to sweep across the planet. My great red storm of judgment. All that you must do now to take your place as Earth's new savior is acknowledge your maker. Acknowledge Ra's al Ghul as your loving father," which obviously paints a kind of parallel, making Ra's al Ghul the god, if you will, in his own mind, and Superman here, Kal-El, would be his new son that would save Earth from his weakness and restart everything. But the only real response that Superman has here is to quite literally spit in his face, going on to say, "If there is a god, you ain't him." And in response to that, Ra's al Ghul simply just plunges his sword into Superman's hand, splitting his palm open. As he continues to say, "These humans, these people, are sheep chasing themselves off of a cliff. A meek child from Kansas could never save them, but an enraged scion of a doomed alien world could." Of course, being the rage that he's been trying to turn Superman into. As he then grabs his face and plunges it into the kryptonite energy of the sword, searing Superman's flesh, Ra's al Ghul continues saying that, "I have fathered 97 sons, but not one proved worthy of living, let alone standing by my side. So either you become the storm, become Ra's al Ghul's rage, or you can join your brothers in the grave." And I mean, this right here, just 97 sons, but not a single one of them were deemed worthy. I wonder what Talia al Ghul's childhood was like and why she, out of everyone, was deemed, worthy enough to live and stand by his side. I hope we get that explored later on because that could be super interesting. Now, here is where the giant shift in, almost downfall, if you will, starts to happen and occur, because as Ra's al Ghul goes on to command Brainiac to free Superman of the encumbers and earthly tethers in the form of, his friends and allies and people that he trusts here, essentially killing them using Soul's previous red, now purple crystals, we find out that he is not only still alive, but not fully taken over, as he goes on to say, "No, I will not be party to murder." Because while Brainiac is super intelligent and did take over Soul's entire system, embedded himself so deep inside of Soul's source code that he will never truly be free of Brainiac, that also works two ways, meaning that Soul can also see into Brainiac's, entire system and past as well, even calling out his original model number from his origin, being one of the many different Brainiacs that were created to essentially be a slave to the higher Brainiac's will. Soul continues saying, "You are right, you have irrevocably corrupted my programming, but the last dust of Krypton will never belong to the likes of you." Because given the options between being a weapon of mass destruction, death, and war, or taking himself out of the equation permanently, he decides to choose the latter, giving Kal-El his final goodbyes, calling him his brother, before permanently deleting all of his operating systems and basically ceasing to exist, killing himself in the process. Which, to no surprise, makes Superman just absolutely rageful and hysterical, watching right in front of him another member, the last member or memory of his last planet, Krypton, die right in front of him. He decides to stop holding back, ripping the kryptonite sword from his palm and unleashing a very powerful blast before declaring that Kal-El of Krypton is already dead, which to him, it kind of is. He already lost his planet, his people, the last remnant being his suit. The very advanced intelligence suit is gone. Nothing tethering him to Krypton even exists anymore on this planet. So in his own mind, Kal-El of Krypton is gone and dead, as he just unleashes a brutal blast of his heat vision, just completely incinerating and blowing everything up. And unsurprisingly, Ra's al Ghul, being the beast of a man that he is completely unfazed by this. If anything, he is excited that Superman is finally showing some spirit and not holding back as much. But still, Superman is weakened in current state here. Ra's al Ghul just knocks him back dozens of feet, crashing into debris away. Superman going on to say that Ra's al Ghul is a volcano of a man with a sword forged from my dead planet. Yet I am a sun-starved child with broken knuckles and bleeding eyes. Soul would know what to do in this moment, but Soul is dead, as he's just been grabbed and catched by just a random peacemaker that is piloting a suit, thinking that, he's doing the right thing. He's captured Superman and doing what he was trained to do in his job. But keep in mind, this is happening in front of everybody, from the citizens of Kansas in the resisting force and the whole other army of peacemakers here as well. There's nobody really wanting to take the first shot and starting a bloodbath between the two. But as Ra's al Ghul finally gets back on his feet and confronts the peacemaker who grabbed Superman, he says, "What is the meaning of this? Who allowed you to lay a hand on my son?" As he just rips the thing apart, getting ready to absolutely just incinerate the man inside for even daring to interrupt his battle and his fight, until he is saved by Superman swooping in, which just completely enrages Ra's al Ghul. As he goes on to say, while continuing to beat on Superman, "Your weakness is appalling. You rescue your own persecutor? I suppose you were right all along. You were no son of mine." As he decides enough is enough, the siege of Smallville ends here, giving his peacemakers direct orders to kill every single one of the civilians in resisting force of Smallville to town, until Superman finally realizes that, this is the end game, this is it, deciding that if he lets all of the people here, the innocents, survive and live, that he will do anything Ra's al Ghul says, going as far to even rip the symbol and crest from his chest of his people in Homeworld, saying that this was a symbol of my people, but I don't even have a people anymore. I am the son of nowhere and nothing, which is kind of super depressing if you think about it. Of course, Ra's al Ghul couldn't care any less. He just wants Superman's submission and for him to become his new weapon, telling him to bow down and get on his knees. Though Superman goes on to say that if it'll save Smallville, sure, I'll bow, gravel, whatever you want. But, and here's a big but, you are just going to kill these people anyway, aren't you? Regardless of him submitting to Ra's al Ghul or anything in between. As Kal-El continues saying, "On Krypton, I wore the crest of the Labor Guild. It was seen as a mark of shame, but my parents taught me to wear it with pride. We were the children of the sun," they said, "those who made their way with their own two hands," before using and activating the last bits and pieces of his suit, which was the advanced AI and almost the nanotech-like bits, and forming a weapon with it to attack Ra's al Ghul here. Superman, of course, knowing that his submission and wanting to work with Ra's al Ghul was just going to end in nothing more than more death, war, and utter extinction of innocent people. So he chooses the same path like Soul did. He rather potentially die and end this battle with his death than submit to something like that. Which just then, Ra's al Ghul decides to allow his peacemakers to fire at will to take out all of the resistance group here, which peacemakers having way more military training and advanced armor and weapons that it really wouldn't be a battle and more of a slaughter on their end. Until it is one of their own, a peacemaker, the same one that Superman saved and almost inspired by his actions, steps in between everybody here saying, "No, I'm from Oklahoma. I didn't sign up to shoot farmers or fight wars in Kansas. Did any of you?" Which kind of gets everybody to realize that, yeah, this entire situation is kind of messed up. They were here to stop Superman, an alien that they were told was evil and could be bad for humanity at whole, not gunning down innocent farmers of a small town, which kind of shows you indirectly Superman just inspiring and giving hope to those who previously his worst enemies and wanted him dead in the first place. So while the civilians of Smallville are safe for now, Superman isn't out of the clear just yet, as their battle just continues on. Superman using his new makeshift sword-like weapon and fighting against the Ra's al Ghul with everything he has, with Superman making his last stand against his greatest evil and greatest adversary so far. And even so, we see a bunch of quotes and sayings from everybody who has helped him or been on this journey with him, from Soul, his parents, Lois. Every person, big or small, who has helped Superman during this entire run is symbolically with him during this final stand and final clash in battle. Until we see one final vision between him on Krypton with his parents, Krypto, whatever. You can almost imagine this as a two sides in war within himself. Like, yes, he could either give in and give up and join his parents in the dead world of Krypton and lose everything that he has been building for, purposely or not, or he can keep pushing forward, as even here he says, "I'm ready to go home with you." But his parents say, "Yes, we miss you terribly, Kal-El, more than you can ever imagine, and we always will. But you are already home." Earth, of course, being his new home, as that side wins out, and even in the present, he wins, shattering the kryptonite sword. And Superman, for the first time, he's done the impossible. He has bested Ra's al Ghul through pure tenacity and determination and willpower. It is now Ra's al Ghul who is kneeling to Superman, Kal-El, who, as Ra's al Ghul even says himself, "I kneel to you, you who truly are a Superman, the son of the demon. Now all that is left is for you to strike me down and become who you were meant meant to be. You want to protect this world? Well, then protect it from me. I've killed more people than the plague, torn the heads off of children. Bury your blade into my heart, or I will kill again. Which is a pretty convincing argument in the opposite direction. Most people would say why they deserve to live and why they shouldn't, be executed. But Ra's al Ghul knows that if Superman gives in and actually goes through with this will just set him down the path of being what he wanted in the first place. As killing the man who has basically taken everything from him would also take the last thing he has, his hope and tenacity to keep pushing forward and do better. As it's left ambiguous what exactly happens from there to here, but we move over to Pakistan, the same town that the innocent civilians were slaughtered by the Peacemaker. We see Superman now holding Ra's al Ghul completely bound, beaten, and destroyed, and just straight up giving him to the people here as a not a peace offering, but a option for justice. As Superman goes on to say, this is the man responsible for the murder of 23 people in these streets. The atrocities committed by Lazarus were carried out under his direct order. His name is Ra's al Ghul, and you must see that he stands trial for his crimes. Of course, the people are grateful that the man who has killed, some of their people can be put to justice. They go on to ask him what is his name and who do they have to thank for this gift. And even Superman in this moment, much like all the times before, is slightly unsure. Like, he is no longer Kal-El of Krypton. That whole side of him is dead and gone, as he proclaimed himself. Yet the only other identity and person that he has grown into on Earth is this new Superman being that he is unwillingly taking the role of. As we do a time jump now, weeks later, Smallville is still healing from the absolute war and devastation of their town, but it's slowly starting to rebuild and getting back to normal. The people here are nothing but resilient. And even as Superman goes on to narrate and say nothing in this town will ever be normal again, Lois and Jimmy's broadcast from before eventually got through, and the world is finally seeing what Lazarus did here and what exactly they truly are capable of. Talia al Ghul may have slipped away during the battle, but her father's company has been ruined, while Ra's al Ghul himself sits in a Pakistani jail charged with a long list of crimes. Meanwhile, Superman himself, he has gathered every last speck of the Sunstone Crystal, and of course his cape, but it's all just functionless. It's silent, a lifeless machine. Soul is truly gone and destroyed. And even in the weeks after the entire battle, he's been trying to put off one thing, during his healing process and basking in the sun. Eventually, it leads him to Smallville Senior Living, where he wants to finally see his Earth mother, if you will, Martha Kent. Though unfortunately for him, he is too late. She has already passed. The lady goes on to give him a box. Something that Martha Kent, before she passed, literally last night in her sleep, something that she's been working on nonstop. It is the most clear-headed and cohesive that a dementia patient like her, or whatever she was dealing with, has been in years. Like, she knew exactly what she was doing. And how, yes, memories come and go for someone like Martha Kent. Dementia is cruel like that. Some memories and moments slipped away for good, but she never forgot her late husband, Jonathan Kent, and of course, Superman Kal-El here. And how she wanted him to have this. This is what she's been working on for weeks. And now, unfortunately, yes, she didn't quite get it finished, but Martha Kent said he would know what it meant. And in the box, it's literally the threads of a new suit. The suit symbolizing not only the original Superman costume, the blue, red, and giant symbol, but a very direct message from his parents, both of them together, saying for our angel, our lost son, Clark Kent, which is really, really interesting. It's like almost Batman in a way. The death of his parents is what pushes him to become and fully embrace this role of helping the world and not just Gotham in the case of Batman, even giving him his iconic suit and purpose, but his name, Clark Kent, here. So yes, everything that Superman was, from his look, identity, to his mental state and whatever he was processing, is dead, and now this new Superman is reborn in almost a form way closer to the classic Prime DC Earth version of him, which is incredible because if you think about it, this is just a giant convoluted, just one big origin story that comes full circle here, as right here, this is kind of a new jumping on point for everything this new Clark Kent is going to do in this absolute universe, though that is something we're going to see next time as this issue and video comes to a close. This was AJ here at the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.